Oh, you don't know me very well, do you? You don't know me very well, do you? Yep. Okay. All right. How did I get started in the industry? Well, funny enough, I came from the marine industry back in 2008, and I was actually really working with boats and high-end sales and stuff. The marine I worked at actually was closing as the owners retired, and I needed a new place to find home. Always heard about automotive, and I walked into Turpin Pontiac Buick, where I was able to actually have a really good conversation with a guy named Lyle Jacobson, and decided that that was my new home. So I started selling cars in 2008. My first day was September 5th, 8:05 a.m. Did that and really enjoyed that experience with the Turpin Group. And that led me, unfortunately, the Turpin Group lost their franchise to GM when they were restructuring. And had a really good experience there, did really well because my background with internet sales had started in 2004 with the marine world, so really understood it. And took that knowledge, and when that closed, Lyle, the guy who hired me in Turpin, moved to Toronto at Agincourt Nissan, and that's where I ended up. I actually moved to Toronto to continue my automotive career and started an e-commerce department at Agincourt Nissan. Did really well there, introduced video and recordings to everybody. It was a really good time, really fun. We actually set records there for their e-commerce department. The place, unfortunately, the old owner sold to a different company. Wasn't a fit for me anymore, and I wanted to grow. And then I went to the Zinken Automotive Group, where I was the director of operations and trainer for the Alta Group and Nissan Infiniti. And that grew into about 30 dealers, where I was managing the customer experience and training and showing them how to use video and everything else. And that was a great 6-year run. And last year, we parted ways, and I started with Kia Canada. Now I'm a district sales manager and trainer for Kia Canada in the Toronto region. Now, that's been an amazing experience. It's really interesting to see it from the other side, the OEM side, versus just the retail side. But yeah, that's kind of my career so far. What surprised me most when entering the industry? Well, simple enough. There was no empathy. I came from the leisure world where people didn't have to buy boats or snowmobiles or ATVs or high-end lawn and garden stuff or boats. They were buying it to have fun with. They were buying it to enjoy. When I came to the automotive world, there was a lack of empathy, lack of customer experience. The people who were doing it well were doing it really well, but they weren't really taking it to the next level. They didn't understand that this was a need. People could take the bus. I couldn't buy a car from you, so I guess I can't go anywhere. No, they'll take the bus. So it was taking that really big explosion of customer experience and empathy and taking it to the automotive world. There was a lot of really, I don't mean to be mean, but a lot of narcissistic personalities where they didn't care about the customer as much as they did in the leisure world. Because I'm sorry, if you don't buy a boat from you, they'll find another place to buy a boat from. And if you can't deliver on the day you say you can, then there's only 9 weekends left in the summer. So there was a lot more needed of lack of depth of everybody. There was no follow-up that I noticed for 90% of the people out there, where the marine world, it was all about that experience. And the lack of internet communication. We were dealing with giant areas of obligation, or PMAs they call them, for Ranger boats. It was basically all of Ontario. So you had to follow with people. If you didn't follow with people, you didn't eat. So that it was really simple. I found that there was a constant flow of traffic coming in the door for cars, but there wasn't a constant flow of traffic for ATVs, snowmobiles, or boats, because they're luxury items. So people were just taking that for granted. Yeah. Yeah, I'm 4 minutes 56, 57, 58. What should dealerships look for when hiring? Well, there's been a lot of change over the industry in the last decade, and more so in the last 3 years. Gone are the days that a guy has to wait. You need to hire a farmer and a hunter-gatherer, not just someone that's going to wait by the door. You need to hire someone that can communicate effectively, not only in person, but also online, is willing to do video, is willing to use social media, not only to sell, but to communicate, right? Someone that's not just hungry to sell, that's important, but has understanding and actually cares about the customer. It's a hard thing to find these days, but there is a lot of people out there. Many dealerships are going to a model that they're getting rid of salespeople. They're doing their service advisor, their finance manager, and their salesperson are the same person. And they get portfolios. Look for someone who can take that customer experience to the next level, not just sell a car. It's very expensive to acquire a new customer, but it's a lot less to keep that customer happy and get referrals. So look at people who have that great conversation skills, are willing and able to do video and learn. And learn and learn and learn and learn. Everything else will fall into place with good teaching. Someone that's willing to learn, someone that has empathy is perfect. There's a fine line, not all experiences are good. So just because you've got someone that in 1984 sold 300 cars, what do you want to have your dealership do? If you're only a pre-owned store and you only want to turn out numbers, then you look for someone that has that experience, that has that drive. But if you're a newer business, a new car business, and you want to build a community around your dealership and to build a customer base, you got to look for that experience and enthusiasm and unbridled enthusiasm, someone that doesn't get knocked down, someone that doesn't get frustrated easily, because that happens too often. You need someone that has enough experience with people, not necessarily selling cars, but you need someone with enough organizational skills to keep their mindset straight and to push the idea forward of, hey, you can buy a car anywhere. You've got, like with Kia, you've got 200 dealers Canada-wide. With Nissan, you've got 30 dealers in Ontario, in Toronto. I can buy a car anywhere for the same price, probably closer, and they say they're going to give me a better deal. So you've got to have that person be able to communicate that properly. And again, experience that they don't know everything. If you've got someone to hire that knows everything, that's going to sit at the door, wait for people to come in, they could be the most experienced person in the world. You're wasting your capital on them. What word defines team culture, and how do I find the team culture, my team culture? Consistency and persistence. Consistency, nothing changes without consistency. You could go and exercise one day, but that one day isn't going to make you a lifestyle. You could eat better one day, but pizza the next day isn't going to make you thinner. You have to be consistent with your efforts, and you have to be persistent to maintain your ideals. Don't change it because other people don't like you. Don't change it because it isn't effective for someone. If it's effective for you and the team, then it works. Don't ever give in to other people's ideals if you're 100% behind your thought process. Be consistent, be persistent, never give up. Don't worry about failing. That's a learning process, and move forward. How do I implement processes into my employees' daily routine? Simply enough, first of all, if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. I go into a lot of dealers and I talk about process, and the manager and owner tells me one thing, and then I turn around and ask the salespeople what the process is, and they either look at me funny or they tell me what their processes are. They generally don't match. So if it's not in paper and it's not accepted by the group, it doesn't work. So you have to have that, first of all, that process written down, understood. And everyone has to sign off on it so they understand it. If they don't understand it and you're not sharing it, it's a useless piece of paper. It's a waste of time. So having everyone sign off on the process, makes them accountable and totally understanding of what is going to happen with the day, what the process is, what they have to do, what their responsibilities are, and who they report to. What's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Once you've done that, then you can move on to the actual trading part and fill in the blanks. What was not there, the soft skills, the follow-up skills and things like that. How do I keep my sales team motivated? Well, first of all, there's no negativity. Failure is a learning process. Everyone, talk to everybody in the morning, talk to everybody throughout the day. Communication is the key. Open door policy. And that's such a cliche thing to say, but an open door policy is really, really important because number one, you can establish trust with people. You can talk to people. Talking to people in the morning, talking to your mechanics, talking to your sales staff, talking about not just work, but what's happening in their lives. A lot of people, like right now, we're in the middle of a pandemic. People are going through mental health issues that they've never had before because we're social creatures and they can't socialize in person. It's just video chat and phone calls and texting. Making sure they're okay. Taking an active role in an active interest in their lives outside of work. Making sure that they all are constantly learning. Someone that's not learning is not advancing. Challenging them, helping them through things. When they're challenged and seem to be failing, assist them moving forward. You need to be that guy, and I've always believed in that guy that people will say, because of you, I didn't give up. You have to be there, not a friend, but mentor them. Lead the way, and always don't ever ask anyone to do anything if you're not willing to do it yourself, and show them. What do I think is the most important thing people can do, dealers can do right now to optimize sales operations? Number one, look at your advertising, look at your branding, and don't just regurgitate the factory message. A lot of brands are running into the problem right now where inventory is very low because of COVID, lack of production, the most popular models are gone. Why are you advertising a model that you can't replace, you can't sell? So have your own message, have your own brand, have your own theme, go out. Be inventive and be creative with your advertising. Have fun with your advertising. Make your advertising mirror what happens in your store. If you have this great offer on advertising and no one in the store knows about it, someone walks in on that ad, you've just wasted that money, that experience, and you've probably upset or disappointed that customer. They won't be back. You've made their competition much easier to sell them. Take that experience, transfer it into the store, make sure everybody in the team is aware of what's going on and is empowered to work with it. Don't talk about process and best price to customers. Customers don't care about your process. They don't. If I walk into a dealership and I want to buy a car and say, well, this is what's going to happen for our process. No, but tell them what's going to happen while they're there. What's their expectations? Walk them through it. Be human. Talk to them like they're humans. Remember, right now, everyone is going through a lot of stress. Everyone's going through a lot of discomfort and unknowns. Show people what you're willing to do for them. Remember, customers can take their money anywhere. Show them that you're different. How are you keeping them safe in a COVID time? Are you telling them that what you're doing to keep the car sanitized, what you're doing to keep them comfortable, what you're doing to keep them safe? Value comes from that. More and more dealers have said that people are paying more money if they feel safe, comfortable, and appreciated while they're in the dealership. Make sure you're social distancing and explain why you're doing it. A lot of customers have really appreciated and will pay for that experience. Make sure your salespeople are educated, informed, and enthusiastic. If someone's having a bad day, it's okay. I used to take my phone out for every meeting in the morning, every morning meeting when I was in retail, hold it up to everyone's face and said, smile. If you're not able to smile and see yourself on camera, go home. I'm not going to penalize you. Just go home. Today's not your day. And people appreciated that, and it brought a more sense of community. People were more willing to help each other that way, more willing to smile. If you can't smile at work, if you can't get your staff to smile at work, you're wasting their time, you're wasting your time, and you're wasting your advertising dollars. What is the worst thing I see dealerships doing right now that wastes money that they can cut right now? Well, number one, their advertising is not representative of what's happening in a store. You've got these great enthusiastic videos that you've taken so much time and energy to put together, and then this great experience, you think it's Disneyland, and you walk in and you get nothing. You get an unclean dealership. You get messaging that isn't consistent with your advertising. You get staff that just don't care. You get the smokers club outside that you walk through all the cigarette butts. You have to make sure that that advertising message matches the enthusiasm of the audience and your staff. And if it doesn't, you've wasted your money. Also, if you're advertising COVID-19 safety precautions and no one has PPE and no one has face shields, no one has barriers, you lied to your customer. They're not going to have any confidence in you, even if they stay for a little while. Make sure your advertising talks about how you're going to make their lives easier, not just sell them a car. If you do that, you've maximized your opportunity. Tell customers in your advertising what's going to happen when they arrive in your store. Don't do that, it's going to have a longer battle. You wasted your money. Staff that aren't trained. Every dealer visit I've ever gone on. Staff that aren't trained in trying to talk their way through a customer. Customers know more than you. They've researched for 16 hours before they come to the dealership. They know about the programs. They know about the product. You've wasted your advertising. Make sure your staff are trained properly, and you will do better. How would I project positive career growth into the service department? It's really simple, and that's one of the most overlooked departments of all. Salespeople, no, it's okay. We're all working from home, buddy. It's all good, buddy. Hi. No, it's okay. So how would I promote career growth in the service department? Well, number one, it's a great question. No one ever focuses on it. A lot of people are more focused on the sales department. They forget completely that there is a service side of it. The service side of it makes all the money. Salespeople just don't like to admit it. Number one, offer people learning opportunities. So many service advisors feel not prepared for their job. Have their interaction with have the owner, DP, GM, sales manager communicate every morning, walk through, say hi to everybody. Have a flow of communication in the service department. Have bi-weekly meetings about what's going on. Tell them what's going on, opportunities that arise. Take your lot boy and let him cross-promote, cross-learn on the service counter. Take your service counter person, have them cross-learn on the parts counter. Take the parts counter person, have them cross-learn in the sales department. Share those experiences. People will see what other sides of the business and obviously want to contribute. And then they develop empathy for each other and understand that that's something they want to do or don't want to do. Have your mechanics singled out every time. Talk to them about what's going on. Talk to them about what opportunities are lie, and have them showcase their work. Make them feel special. Have a mechanic who maybe towards the end of their wrenching career because of injuries or age, try the service counter for a day. That cross-training, cross-promoting really helps people understand and be more want to be part of the team and want to move forward. Incentivize people if they move up. Make that known. Too many people keep those communications quiet. How can dealers mitigate the losses from COVID-19? That's a tough one. There's a lot of dealers that may not even come back from this. I've talked to several across all brands, and some of the smaller stores are really struggling because they didn't have the capital to start with. A lot of people laid off their staff and are only just starting to bring them back on. When you're mitigating the losses, when you bring those staff back, are you bringing back the people that you want? and that will do well by you, that you'll do well by them. Or you bring back people because you just laid them off and you need bodies. You need warm bodies. Just get a homeless person then to stand in your showroom. If there's no value in that person, get the same return. Start focusing on the little things. Take your large budget advertising and focusing on more key avenues and more targeted audiences. Look at your hours of operation and look at your staff load. Many dealers are so overwhelmed with staff, it's just leaching from them. Look at your vendors and challenge your vendors. A lot of vendors are more than willing now to work with you on pricing and things like that. Some of the larger ones aren't. Maybe it's time to find a different vendor then. The vendors are going through the same problem as you are, just on a larger scale. Work with your vendors. Ask for better rates. Co-partner with them that you're going to do some more cross-promoting with them. Look at ways like video in order to communicate with your customers better. You already have phones. You already have internet, Wi-Fi. Try to reduce the amount of needless communication and shortens the time frame. Video actually will reduce your purchase frame by 6 days on a new car. So that will help you convert more cars. Look at your service department. Look at what you're doing and your flow rate. Are you booking as many appointments as you possibly can that can be serviced well, safely, and under government guidelines correctly? Look at your infrastructure in your dealership. Are you overutilizing AC? Are you overutilizing heat? Do you have your inventory that's outdated? I just went through all my dealers' inventory from my region and found that there's so many dealers that have aged inventory. Why aren't you promoting those to get rid of first? Why don't you put those in your showroom so you sell those first? Because salespeople are, I hate to say, are take the easy route. If there's a car in the showroom, they'll sell that one. So put your aged units in the showroom. Invest in taking your time to train with your staff. And it's been an ongoing theme, but that will help promote their enthusiasm, promote their energy. And if they don't want to learn, then maybe they shouldn't be there. Cross-train your employees. Have your salesperson be a service advisor for a day. It develops empathy and vice versa. That way, if your service advisor goes down, you can fill that role. If your salesperson goes down, that service advisor can fill that role. Right? And look at your scheduling. Make sure that you have people to cover, but maybe ask some people to work from home if you're not comfortable with them coming back. Offer them a minimum bonus to just do internet leads. If there's a written documentation of what they have to do with those leads and one's expectations. Look at your expenses. Maybe look at a third-party company to help you look at your expenses. I recently did an audit on a company, a dealer with uniforms, and I found out they were paying $5,000 additional that they didn't need to spend on people that no longer were there. So look at your expenses like uniforms, like supplies, like parts supplies, like obsolescent parts. Start pushing that down. Move your oldest units first. Get them off your flow plan. That'll help. What is a realistic goal that dealers can hope to meet in the next year? I think realistically, it's the ability to purge your unwanted dead wood of employees. I think it's getting back to let's be honest, there'll be no normal going forward. Customers expect more communication. They expect more engagement. Trying to get back to grassroots conversations. Grassroots communication will help you grow. Marketing your vehicles right will help your return right. Don't just put an auto trader, power windows, power door locks, keyless entry. Have stories to tell. That will help you out. You can hope to get back to the dealers that are really suffering. I'm sorry, and I empathize with you because I see it daily. Look at trimming your fat. Maybe you can get back to even by the end of the year. Maybe you can get back to growth. Work with your OEMs closer. Challenge the OEM closer to be able to work with you and the staff. That'll help you reduce some of the stresses. Challenge your vendors and cut the ones who don't work for you. Cut the ones that promise you false hopes and false profits. and work with people who you can trust and reduce your costs. Nothing is free. There is no mythical being that will make this better for you. Work with your staff, work with you and your community, and you'll grow faster. Stop worrying about the extra outside of your PMA stuff. Focus just on your community and they'll reward you. More and more people aren't leaving their community now because of this. Focus on your community, you'll grow faster. What is an issue that dealerships are plagued with and how can you resolve it? Well, number one, it's lack of training. Train your staff and train your staff correctly. You know, OEMs put great information out. I've been lucky enough to work with 16 OEMs with my last job and then with Kia this job. And the OEMs puts out some great base knowledge. But unless you're spending daily time, half an hour a day, with 2 or 1 employee working with them side by side, or having a third party working with them that's pertinent to what you're trying to accomplish, that will be the fastest way to return to normal. The lack of training, the set and forget idea, when you hire new people, properly onboarding them and setting their expectations and not lying to new employees. You're going to make $150,000 this year. No, they're not. They're going to make what they can make if they have the proper training. This industry is amazing. You can do very well for yourself. And luckily, I've been lucky to do that. And many people have done it and made a great life out of it. But that's with great leadership, great training, and great mentoring. Take that under your wing and you can resolve all of this. Put it in paper, get a plan, work with someone who's a trainer that you trust and understand and will be part of, and you'll grow. The problem is many dealers put a trainer in place and walk away and say, fix this. That's like going to the airport to take a vacation. Where do you want to go? Don't know. But I know I want to go on vacation. So really be part of that training experience. Don't just set and forget, right? Don't just put a can of paint in the middle of the room and saying, I need you to paint something. It's going to be painted. Won't be the way you want it. So be involved, work on your training, work on your staff, and you will grow. What is the best way to get information to customers? From a marketing sense, social media is still by far the most effective and cost-effective way. You know, unfortunately, there's lots going on in the world making some advertising platforms a little less popular, but they're still the easiest way. And right now, social advertising is the cheapest it has been since the 90s because everyone's boycotting a lot of stuff. Do that. Focus on your social advertising. Work on your message. Your message has to be consistent. If it's not consistent of what you want to accomplish, it's not just, hey, I'm going to sell you a car. I don't care. It has to be popular, positive. It has to be a message that the customers can take going, I got that. Trying humor in a message. That message will go farther. Share it. Share humor. Share what you're really all about. Toyota did a great campaign a long time ago saying great people selling great cars. And they had funky, weird commercials of people trying different things, salespeople trying different things. And it was funny. And that helped them. Do that. Put your message out there that's fun and engaging. But don't just be like, call me. If you don't have a plan for that. Don't be just like, submit a lead. No. I'm on a cell phone. Why would I want to submit a lead? I want information now. If you're going to do it through Facebook Messenger, have someone on the other end a message in return that can actually answer a question in human form. Or if you want to communicate better, use video. Video is simple. I can see you, you can see me if it's a live chat, or you can see me and see my personality. Video is difficult. Everyone sucks at it at the beginning. I did a video 100 times before I sent the first one I've ever done. And I was like, this sucks. And the person I sent it to was like, wow, this is amazing. Don't judge yourself. You communicate by video. Email still works for sending information, mimic what the customer wants. Text works great, but it doesn't take that personal side of it. Phone works great, but I'm not answering a call if I don't know who it is with the amount of spam calls that are going on. Use text to set up a phone call. Use phone call to set up a video. Use video to set up in person. How important is branding for dealerships? Branding is absolutely important. Just because I'm working at a Kia dealership doesn't mean I'm just Kia. I have my own personality, I have my own thoughts, I have my own everything. OEMs do a great job of putting out, used car stores do a great job of putting out what their brand is as a general umbrella, but they do a very poor job of telling the story of what they are and what they're about. If you are a store that has a one price policy, that's your brand if that's what you want it to be. Make sure that is mentioned to the customer. Make sure it's pushed to the customer in a positive light. If you're a brand that we're a mom and pop shop, great. It probably means you're more expensive compared to Walmart or a box store. So maybe push it out a different message going, we have the best customer service and we'll show you why. Put that brand up. Branding is more important because it identifies you differently than everybody else out there, right? I was watching Discovery last night about whales, as funny as it is, and they look at whales and every whale looks the same to me, but every whale has a different markings, and that's their brand. They can identify the whale by their brand. In a sea full of whales, you have to be different. If that makes any sense at all. I don't know if that is a horrible analogy, but the fact is you have to be different than your competition. You can go to McDonald's, every McDonald's is the same, but the staff in that McDonald's is different. That's why I'm going to go to one McDonald's or the other for my kids, right? Every restaurant sells steak, but the one that treats me the best, that's the brand. I'm going to go there. And they advertise that experience. Do I think it's important that salespeople have their own personal brand? Absolutely, within the confines of what their dealer allows. Because I can say that you can be a brand so big that you're outpacing the dealership, and you have to make sure that first of all, your OEM, not your OEM, your DP, your sales manager are comfortable with you doing it. Because I've seen a lot of people do it and get in trouble from the dealer. But yes, again, a fleet of salespeople are all over on the same brand. Again, looking at Nissan alone, there's 30 dealerships in Toronto. How many salespeople is that? Let's just say 5 per dealership. Wow, that's a lot of salespeople. How do you stand out? Branding yourself being different, whatever your message is, whether it's the funny guy, whether it's the fishing guy, whether it's the informative guy, best deal guy, whatever it may be. Make sure that you have that brand and make sure it's within the confines of what you're allowed to do. Push it. Push the envelope. I'd rather beg for forgiveness than ask for permission sometimes. But if you don't be unique and put your name out there, you are nobody. When I used to sell, I was the big happy guy. I used to be a stand-up comedian. I would put out funny videos. I would send thank you cards, and I was a fisherman too. So I'd send hand-pressed paper cards with a little fishing lure embedded in it, on a picture of it. And I'd write a hand-written letter to everybody. I was the guy who cared. I had Google reviews that people would follow. People would come in I've never met before. I read your Google reviews. You seem like a nice guy to buy a car from. My brand was customer experience, right? It was fun, exciting, customer experience, and honest. That's what gave me customers that I didn't have to look for. Do that. I'm going to give a shout out to Paul Long. He did a great job. He built his brand. People know him from everywhere now, just by his face. That's what you want to do. In my opinion, what's the most important quality for a salesperson to possess to succeed? Relentlessness and the pursuit of excellence. And I don't mean that in the way of sales numbers. I mean in comfort and everything else. Someone has to be relentless without worry of making mistakes, having empathy, being a good communicator, and being able to communicate with all levels and all cultures, all ages, all races, all genders, and being able to understand. There's a video out there that was made years and years ago called God Created the Car Salesman. And there's a line in there saying someone that can talk like a diplomat, joke around like a sports guy, talk like a bartender. You have to possess these levels and traits. Train yourself to be outside of your own experiences. I took South Asian training. When I was an agent court at Nissan, there wasn't a lot of middle-aged white guys there. So I took South Asian training and I learned about the community. I learned about the cultures and I learned about what was appropriate and what was not. I learned that cricket, if I learned cricket and I was able to talk about it on the weekend, I got a lot more people interested in me. Be relentless. Never stop learning and never stop following up with purpose. And you'll do well. More so than someone that has maybe more sales talent that's not doing that. What was the worst month that I personally had as a salesperson, and how did I personally fix it? Well, I had a couple. Some were due to my fault and some were due to outside of my control. Personally, the worst month I ever had was the month I found out I had cancer. There's my badge of honor right there. That was a bad month. I didn't sell a lot of cars that month. The worst month I had professionally was I moved to Toronto, was doing really well, was leading the board with 20 to 30 cars a month for so long, and I figured I knew everything. Managers didn't know what they were doing. Used car manager couldn't call a car. Jesus, I knew everything. Suddenly my numbers started going down, because I knew everything. The guy's not buying because his credit is crap. The guy's not buying because, it's not me. I knew everything. And I learned everything not to do. I stopped doing what made me successful. I stopped doing what made me having fun. And I worried about the money. I went from being a 35 to 40 car a month guy to 10. And 10 skinny deals. Happened 1 month in my life and that never happened again. Because I got a big boot up the ass of my own foot. And a good talking to by a good mentor of mine saying you're an idiot. And that kind of reset everything. But yeah, don't be your own worst enemy. For the customers who are looking pre-pandemic in March or April, February, who put everything on hold, how would I decide? How would I communicate it's a great time to buy a car? First of all, I wouldn't communicate that it's a great time to buy a car. I'd communicate how are they doing, what's going on. I'd follow up with them, make sure that they're okay. And once you start that conversation, then you can bring up the car side of it. The last thing you want to do is get an infomercial call from somebody in the middle of all this who's still maybe on the edge. I would have never stopped communicating with them the entire time. The problem people had is people stopped communicating them. It's like when their lease is up 4 months before your lease is over. Hey, it's JP. Who? I sold you the car. How's it been? I still traded in 3 months ago. So I would have made a better communication throughout the process, talking nothing about cars except for about them. And then when I communicate with them, it wasn't about what sales are on right now or what's going on. It's going to be about, listen, this is what is going on. I know you had a budget. I can work with you on that while keeping you safe. And again, continually soft selling that message. Hard selling messages and sales tactics don't work as much anymore. You're going to come in. The fear of missing out, you're going to come in. You're not going to make it anymore. I'll just wait 1 more month. So having that communication of what best for them, what they're going to win at, what the customer's going to enjoy, what the customer's going to win from, will do better than what I'm going to miss out of. The problem is when salespeople call customers, hey, listen, it's only the last 3 days of the sale. I just don't want you to miss out because I need commission. It really has to be about what the customer is going to receive, not what you're going to get. That's the biggest thing. So that's what I would do, is talk about what the customer is going to win from that doesn't benefit me. Because customers see right through that crap. You know, it's like the private sales now. We're going to buy your car for more than you've ever seen before, just like last month. You know, you've got to have a consistent message, follow up the whole time. And if you haven't, follow up now with only things that will benefit them, and they'll come to you. For the used cars that have been sitting in the lot for 4 or 5 months, how do you get customers to see the value? Well, number one, rebrand everything, re-merchandise everything, take new pictures. 4 or 5 months ago, there was still snow on the ground. I love pictures in the middle of winter with grass and trees. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a deal on this one. They bought a new car deal with this one. So retake your pictures, take video, make it a new car, reposition the lot, take it for a drive, take everything off it, and mix things around. Play with the numbers. If you raise the price on something by $100, you may find that someone's been watching that car and be like, hey, wasn't that used to be $15,995? Clean them, move them around, re-merchandise them, take videos of them, and people may see that they're not the same cars. For the customer that's been watching that same car for 6 months and is going to wait for it to rust out or a tree to go through it, show them other inventory, right? It's a tough time with all the rental companies going, liquidating a lot of their fleet. You have to be ready to have communication and establish value. But the biggest thing is start branding and re-merchandising those cars. Make them look different. You know, that's what you know, I was watching in Metro. They took their barbecue chickens they were left the day and they chopped them up, and now it's chicken salad. So you have to be different and put that different spin on them and communicate that and believe what you're doing and have enthusiasm. The problem is most salesmen are like, oh, we've had it for 5 months. Yeah, you know, it's clean now. Give you a good deal on it. That's not how you build value. Re-merchandise it, take video, and sell it again. One year from now, where do I think the auto industry will be? That's a great question, because there's just so much going on in the world. I think the dealers that have established themselves as community leaders will see enhanced growth. They are seeing huge returns by their customers. The automotive industry in general, I think it's evolving. We're not going to be touchless car delivery, online only, but you're going to see a hybrid more of what happened before. This pandemic did one thing for us, and unfortunately, a lot of people have suffered for it, physically, emotionally, and I apologize for anyone who's been sick or has lost a loved one. But the pandemic has made people understand what we should have been doing for 5 years. Communicate at a much higher level with a proper experience and offering a digital experience mixed with a human interaction, using video. That's where the industry is going to be changed to, because they have no choice. Customers have grown to understand that this is a better experience, that I want a better experience, that I deserve a better experience, and my money's valuable to me more than they ever have before. Remember, if you don't change, someone else will, and they'll enjoy the fact that you didn't. Thanks.